couple of people wanted me to talk about memory, learning, and I wanted to get into it from the base of how we learn and how we experience the world. And we'll talk about the rice experiment a little bit. Remember, his name is Masaru Emoto, as far as emotions. So we observe and participate and interact with the world. And the only thing that exists in the way that we experience it is what goes on in our mind and how we talk about the world, how we describe the world is in language and letters and numbers, and we describe things. But this language is secondary. It's a tool. It isn't the experience. The experience only really comes of matter, energy, or the quality of those two things. That's all you can really experience. So the way to look at it is using, if you were to close your eyes, you have an imagination, you have a picture of something and how you feel about it. The feeling that people have about something is wildly different than what people call emotions. Emotions are totally different. Emotions don't really exist. Emotions is something that we perceive in time, meaning that we attach a past or a future to a feeling. The feeling is the thing. The feeling is a soft cat. The feeling is getting kicked in the shin. The feeling is, those are feelings. There's no emotion tied to it. If you close your eyes and you pet a cat, that feeling of that is what you get. Your emotion is saying, that's a bad cat. I don't like cats. And to have a feeling is just what it is. To cut yourself, that's a feeling. That what happens when that knife hits the skin, when you pet an animal, that's the feeling. Now, the emotion is tied to say, I don't like cats because when I was 3 years old, the cat came up and bit me in the face. So you have an emotion about that. You emote. And emotion comes of the word motion, meaning that in what we perceive as time in this body and in our mind, the motion occurs, which is this idea of a wave and a particle duality. So in the world as it exists, there's a particle, and that's us sitting here experiencing feelings. But as soon as that wave comes about, that's the experience we have as far as time is concerned. I know that took a little bit of a left turn for some people, but it's overlays it perfectly. So our experience that we have as far as a feeling goes is immediate. There's no attachment to what that feeling is going to result in the future, and there's no attachment to what it meant in the past. The petting the dog, the playing with the animal, the catching a football, that is a feeling. The excitement that you get because of a perceived scoring a touchdown, that's emotion. It hasn't happened. It doesn't mean anything. The actual physical contact of the ball to your hand, that's a feeling. And that feeling of a soft cat, that's the feeling. So emotions don't really exist. We attach those to the comedy drama that we call life, that we call the waveform, the time, the inside of time, inside of the body, inside of the experience. So we attach to the past and the future. But the feeling in and of itself, the matter that exists, the energy that exists, the quality of that exists, that triangulation is in the moment. It's the present. So as we get into this Masaru Emoto and what memory is, let me do this first, because again, memory means water and light. So the ideas that we have of what is contained within inside of water, which is light, which is what we are. We are light beings that are contained within a vessel of water, and those are our memories. We have an idea of what those were. They've gone into the distance, or what might occur in the future. Those are all collected inside of a wave of light. So that wave of light goes inside what we call a particle of water, and they exist together inside of this body that we live in. So these memories that, as in X-Men, that movie called Memories of a Future Past with Wolverine, that gives you a good idea of what occurs, what it is. And as we take this leap into Masaru Emoto, and I find it very interesting, people's last names that are involved in different communities and how they link up with it, with what they're participating in, what they're exhibiting. So Emoto, he's dealing with emotion, but in truth, in reality, in actuality, you can have no emotion about rice. No one really had any emotion about what they think about rice. Rice is an inanimate, just sitting there object. No one's like, and in fact, if we even got deeper into it, like it's hypoallergenic. You couldn't even have an allergy. You couldn't even really have a feeling about it. It's next to nothing. It's white rice. It doesn't. It's just it's the matter that sits there on the plate that you put the broccoli and the chicken and everything on. It's just the substrate for something. I know that goes into a little bit more of philosophy, but that's the idea, that you can't have an emotion about rice. You can have a feeling inside of your body to exude out into reality. And this goes into magic and goes into everything else that we talk about in this experience here. You can have a feeling within inside of you that you can change the rice. If you haven't done the rice experiment, I highly, highly, highly suggest it. I might even go start one up, and we'll all start this a little later today or tomorrow, whenever you like. I've done this a couple times, and it works out exactly like this. You have 3 jars: the love jar, the hate jar, and the one that you ignore. The one that you exude a feeling of love to. Man, at the end of that process, a couple weeks, I opened up the jar. It smelled like wine, and you could have drank the liquid in it. The one that was nothing was rotten. The one that hate was rotten. They were they were rotten and putrid. The smell was disgusting. And anybody else that's already done this, I'm almost positive they've had the exact same results. I've heard of one person that said that they didn't have those results. But whatever. I've had plenty of people that have told me about this occurring. So if y'all want to try it out again, this has to do with this idea of what memory is, how to learn, and learning comes through compassion, and passion is part of the heart and the feeling that you have, not the emotion, because it doesn't. We need to separate those two things. That brings about comedy and drama of life, which we can participate in that wave of what we consider time. But to get to the center of ourselves and see what we're talking about, let's look at this rice experiment as not dealing with pushing an emotion into something, but pushing a feeling into something. And that is actually what we talk about when we're charging these sigils. You can't have an emotion about it. You can have a feeling, find that feeling of something, and then put that feeling into it. So put that feeling into the rice and see what happens. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll chat soon, and I'll do another one, and we'll get this rice experiment going. And we can all do this and see if we can't speed up the process by instilling more feeling into the rice, while if anybody is also doing this fast, especially a urine fast, how fast could you actually make this happen? How fast could we rot some rice or make some rice turn into rice vinegar or rice wine? Cheers, everybody.